We want to welcome back to the program. We really appreciate it. We're going to welcome back with us. We've got Congressman Rick Crawford on the line. Rick, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Man, so first of all, what can you tell us about what's going on in Washington, D.C. right now? I know it's obviously tough with the Democrats and their zaniness.
It is. So what we have going on here is really basically a demonstration of their lack of faith in their ability to win elections, their lack of faith in their own candidate, and how they're trying to impact the 2020 election. What they're trying to make this about is, nullifying the 2016 election. It basically by weakening the president and softening him up. They say that it's about 2016, but what this is really about is targeting 2020, and they know they can't beat him, so let's just do it this way, ignoring the people's voice, ignoring the millions of people who voted to elect this president, and just take this into their own hands and say, well, we're smarter than the American people, we'll solve this on our own.
Yeah, and it's right now, I think the president would win easily. He would win re-election, and some of them have admitted it. We have to impeach him or he'll win. And so
that's a fact. Yeah.
So I mean,
well,
go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, the thing about it is, you've got now Bloomberg throwing his hat in the ring because he knows that nobody in the Democrat field can beat him, and so, well, heck, I've got the resources, I got the money. Maybe I can buy this thing myself, like he buys everything else. He played aggressively in elections across the country. Was a huge investor in Democrat candidates, and that was a critical part of them regaining the majority in the House. But now he's aligning himself with socialists. And the fact of the matter is, and you know this, and folks here at home that know this, I have been very deferential and respectful of people's political identity with regard to the cultural nature of their political identity. Cultural Democrats. Not political Democrats, but cultural Democrats. Here in the South, we grew up to be Democrats. Our parents, in many cases, were Democrats. Our grandparents, most assuredly, were Democrats. And so trying to respect, the cultural identity of the South. But look, those days are over. They're just over. The Democrat Party has officially endorsed socialism. And some have gone so far as to be, communists. I don't know what else you call somebody like Ayanna Pressley from Massachusetts. AOC is an unabashed socialist. The other members of the squad are socialists. Bernie Sanders, it calls himself a socialist.
Yeah.
Most of them espouse socialist policies. So what else can you call them? Mm-hmm. And so I think, all due deference to our folks here at home, I think we have to now come to grips with the fact that the die is cast here, and there's not a whole lot going back. There's not anybody showing any sign of saying, look, I'd like to reclaim, the traditional Democrat platform. There's nobody doing that. Nobody.
Yeah. I'm going to make this leap here. I bet because I know you've been critical, on Talk Business and Politics. Also on this show, we're talking with Congressman Rick Crawford. I know you've been critical about China and the idea of doing deals with them here. Like you said, socialism is now something that the Democrat Party is promoting. Many people have called socialism microwave communism. We have China, which is very communist. They are trying to supplant the United States. They have a 100-year plan to do so. And, I'd like to give you another opportunity to tell us. You've said on this program before, doing these economic development deals with China is a Trojan horse. Can you address that again?
Yeah, so what's going on, and the more I travel globally, the more I see it, they engage in practices that is called a debt trap. What they do is they go into third world countries and they will loan them money And, they're like loan sharks, knowing that they don't have the capacity to repay, but they do this for political reasons. And then the next thing you know, that particular country can't meet their financial obligations, and then lo and behold, China comes in and forecloses and essentially owns a part of that country. And this is something that's taken place all over the world. They're exploiting developing nations all over the globe, and particularly in places on the African continent as well as in South America. Now, why this is troubling, we're seeing this ramp up in our hemisphere. We're seeing it all over South America, all over Central America, and quite frankly, we're seeing it in the United States. Now, they have to operate a little differently in the United States because we are a developed nation. We are the largest economy, the most advanced economy, and so they have to do things a little bit differently here. They have to play things a little closer. They've got a different regulatory regime to have to follow. They have a very well-developed political system to navigate, and so they're not as in-your-face about it, but believe me, they're here aggressively. They're here to undermine our economy. They're here to exploit everything they can, steal everything they can, and weaponize what they steal against us. They weaponize foreign direct investment from the United States in their economy and turn it against us politically, economically, and even literally in terms of military hardware and technology, because they do have the stated goal of world dominance. That was a 100-year goal that was espoused 70 years ago in the revolution. That's been a key part of their strategy, and they are long-term thinkers. They're dynastic in nature. They're not worried about politics, and this is their goal. And so when we see Chinese investment in the United States, it's not investing in the United States. It's investing in themselves and their ability to supplant the United States as the preeminent economic power in the world, and ultimately the preeminent military power in the world. Now, this is out there for everybody to see. You don't need to take my word for it. This is being reported all over the news, and all you have to do is just take a look and see around you what's going on. And I travel extensively around the globe as a member of the Intelligence Committee. Just got back from one trip, and that's always one of the primary, if not the primary, topics of conversation wherever I go.
Peter, we're talking with Congressman Rick Crawford. I really appreciate your candor on all of this, and I want to reemphasize you are a member of the Intelligence Committee. And so you are privy to information that you can't share totally, but you have shared your concerns about China. Peter Schweitzer has this book called Secret Empires, and it details. And we were just listening to Mike Pompeo, Secretary of State. He gave a speech at the Hudson Institute, just talking about the access that the Chinese lobby has here in America versus the access, let's say, if an American goes to China, how they are not. If a lobbyist were to go to China, they're very restricted in how they can approach the political leaders over here. That's not the case. But in that book, Secret Empires, it talked about this Hunter Biden, Joe Biden scenario that's in the news, and how the kids of these politicians, there's nothing stopping them from financially benefiting legally. It may be unethical, but it's something that's going on. Can you address that a little bit?
Well, what you find are politicians that are out there that are willing to thread the needle with regard to legal and ethical. And, in my case, I mean, the transparency that is statutory at the federal level for members of Congress, it's not a matter of if you'll get caught if you're doing things that are unethical or illegal. It's when. You will get caught, because the disclosure rules and all the rules governing being a member of Congress and the transparency that accompanies that, it would be hard to overcome in 2019. Now, the reason those rules exist is because people have exploited them, and people have taken advantage for years. That's been a part of our system, and it's been addressed. It's continually addressed in a variety of ways, and so it's very, very difficult for someone to skirt these rules. So if you're doing it deliberately. And so what you're finding out is, are you willing to take an ethical hit? No, I didn't break the law, but it was unethical, and I'm not so much concerned about ethics as I am lining my pockets. As long as I'm technically legal, I'm less concerned about whether or not it passes muster from an ethical standpoint if I can benefit from it personally. Well, that's intolerable. And there are members of Congress who have done it, been caught. Some of them are in jail right now. Some of them are currently in legal trouble and under indictment. I don't care what party you belong to. It's wrong, shouldn't be tolerated. And so if that's going on, then look, be ready, because eventually you're going to be found out, and there's going to be some outrage, and people are going to complain about it, and you're going to have to give an account for it.
We're talking with Congressman Rick Crawford. He's on the line, and he is always a great interview. It's always great to talk to you, sir. I really appreciate it. And just keep us posted, and keep fighting the good fight up there, okay?
Roger that. Appreciate it.
All righty. Congressman Rick Crawford, everybody.